So good evening, folks. It is a little windier than I would like. I mean, I'm only going about 20 miles an hour right now. I got a pretty good headwind. Some storms rolled through earlier. I'm in Ionia, Michigan, and I have an interesting history lesson for you today that I think you all will find quite interesting. I'm going to go through this light here. Try to fix this. So, the history lesson is here in Ionia, Michigan, home of the Ionia Free Fair. The fair's been around for 105 years. So it started, the first Ionia Free Fair was 1915, right? Do the math here. Now, for only the second time in its 105-year history, the Ionia Free Fair is not going to open this year. Why? Because of the COVID-19, right? 2019 pandemic. So, well, let me throw in another little bit of history. I'm actually going down a steep grade road into Ionia. It's like about a 6% grade. And halfway down was my grandpa's house, C.W. Van Houten. Now, you're not going to see this probably very good, but there's a stone along the side of the road. And right there, that stone has a plaque. And I don't know what it says, but it's been there forever. So I'll have to check at some point. I used to hang out there as a kid and play. But anyway, I digress. So I'm pulling up into the Ionia Free Fair right now, where it's closed for the first time since 1915. And, well, second time, I'm sorry. The only other time it ever closed was during the Second World War. So I think Susan figured that out to be probably around 41 or so in that area that they canceled the Ionia Free Fair, right? So other than that one time, they're canceling it now. So you ask yourself, well, okay, if it opened in 1915, how come they didn't close during the Spanish flu pandemic, right? Because I think I just made an illegal turn there, but we won't say anything. So I'm pulling into the Ionia Fairgrounds right now. My thing's tightening up on me. So you're probably doing some math right now going, okay, look at that, see? Ionia Free Fair. You're probably doing some math right now saying that in 1918, we had the Spanish flu, COVID something, I imagine. COVID, 1917. And, because it was like, I think it was a coronavirus thing. And they never closed the fairgrounds. But you had people bleeding out their eyeballs and shit. I mean, this was some serious stuff, not to be taken lightly. If I saw people bleeding out their eyeballs and shit from COVID-19, I wouldn't be out riding around. I'd be home with a mask on going, I'm going to no fair. But that's not what's going on here. What's going on here is completely different. It's it's almost identical to the flu, with the exception it's a lot harder on some on a very small portion of society, right? And we absolutely need to protect those people. We need to protect the elderly. We're writing checks for everybody in America. We should only be writing checks for people who actually fit into that category, need to stay home, and then we should be organizing to help make their lives better, especially the old people and shit, right? So it's not a super complicated problem. But what you have is that the difference here is that in 1917, 1918, actually, there was an incumbent, or there was a Republican governor running. His name was, no. Hey, how y'all doing? His name was, Sleeper. Sleepy or Sleeper. God is my witness. Although, there's no way. Susan looked that up for me when I was talking to her today, so I don't believe she made that up. The guy's name who ran for governor and as a Republican governor in 1918, that's when they reported the most deaths that would have been like, COVID type related deaths at the time, Spanish flu related. Yeah, he was a Republican governor, won a second term re-election. And you know what? He never closed the frickin' Ionia Free Fair, right? He never closed it. People bleeding out their eyes and shit. So, it's an interesting lesson in history that I thought people might enjoy. It's a shame that this fair isn't taking place. It would normally take place, I believe you'd have people loading in here right now. I think it officially opens this coming weekend, but it won't, because you got a Democrat governor who's putting politics before the people, the livelihood of the entire state. It's such a joke. They have people, you can go around in and out of stores, wear a mask. Show me one study that shows even one person has lived that would have otherwise died as a result of a mask outside of a hospital environment. You can't. It's just too random, right? They're picking winners and losers. It's just, it's all political for this person. Guaranteed they have aspirations of bigger things. But right now, I think this lady's up for re-election, the governor of Michigan. And, I've been driving around Michigan for the last couple days, visiting the place I grew up, listening to even more news. Today, I think Trump released, millions of dollars in aid from the Midland Power Plant, not Midland Power, that was another, from the Midland Dam disaster. Funny story, right? So the Midland Dam disaster, what's up with Midland, Michigan, right? That, and again, we've got Flint, Michigan, with the water poisoning under a Democrat. We've got dams breaking under Democrat in Midland, same area too, really, as Flint, not far from Flint. And then also in Midland, a funny story, and I don't know whether it was a Democrat or Republican in office at the time, but trying to also look, because I might be getting a little rained on here, I don't know. But there was a thing called the Midland Nuclear Power Plant, and I remember my dad bought some stock in that thing. I think it was in the 70s. I remember a very young boy. We went to Hawaii with all of us, and I think it was on that trip we came back, and my dad said, damn it, I was going to sell this Midland stock before I left, and then I forgot to, or just decided to hold on to it. And when he came back, it had tanked because it was like a $5 billion project in the early 70s. That's a freaking ton of money. And it just went way over budget, and they never actually finished the project. They shut it down. It's a thing called Consumers Power. And that Consumers Power almost went out of business from it. It was a bad disaster. My dad lost a ton of money on it. I don't know what the deal was, but I remember he was like a little pissed that he didn't sell that before he left. It's just, that's the way the game's played, right? But again, I wonder. I didn't look it up, but I'd be interested to see if somebody looked it up, if that was a Democrat or Republican in that county or as governor of the state when the Midland nuclear power plant ran amok and just cost billions of dollars to taxpayers of Michigan. I bet, it could just as easily be a Republican. Don't get me wrong. And by the way, I finished my mugs, and I just have to upload them to the site. So when I get back, to the motel, I will upload the Trump 2020 and Biden 2020. Ask me about the shadow net. Ask me about Obama's shadow net commemorative mugs. I'll put them up there at either, I think, 20 or 25 bucks. The purpose of this mug is, it's cute, great conversation, please. Bit of irony to it. I love that. But it also helps support what we're trying to do here, right? So I have a bunch of things we're working on, working with some other journalists, working with some people. And I have a multimedia company, and I have a business card that says I'm a journalist. So I am now officially a colleague of Anderson Cooper. So if I see Andy on the road, his colleagues call him Andy. If I see him on the road, I'll be sure to say hello. And I'll ask him if he wants to ask me about Obama's shadow net. I think that's going to happen. I don't. But, I think eventually we got a long summer coming ahead of us. I'm hoping to have my book done and ready to be published within 45 days. Susan, swear to God, bless her heart, is helping me out on this too. So thank you, Susan. You are a blessing. I do need your help, though, for this. We're going to make an impact on this. I swear to God, I'm not going to go through this election having a conversation about Trump or more impeachment. It's going to happen. That's what they're going to have a conversation about. But right now, it's also this summer, with your help, it's also going to be having a conversation about Obama's shadow net. And that's going to be one hell of an uncomfortable conversation, folks. I promise you this. So, any rate, I'm going to sign off here. I hope you share this because it's a pretty good lesson in history. You should ask yourself why they didn't close it back then. I would add that Susan was reading me some history on it and said that they had. It was right when they were coming home from World War I, when they were doing like the fairs. So they had to they did have to shift things around a little bit because of that, because they weren't allowed to fly planes or something. No, they had it. And they had it because they wanted to make sure to support like our troops, right? They wanted to be able to support our troops coming back from World War I. And hell, they were in the trenches. Those trenches were filled with frickin' Spanish flu, people. It's like people bleeding out their eyes. Oh my God, right? So that's what they were coming back to. And Ionia, God bless them, said, hey, we're gonna stand up. We're patriots. We're gonna stand up. We love our country. We love those who fought for it. And they did. And it's only been shut down one time. And that was right after World War, sometime during like at the end of World War II. So, I don't know, folks. And that may have been like when they were doing, that was actually probably when they were doing like the plane thing. I don't know. Whatever the case is, it's jacked up what's going on. We need to protect those that are vulnerable. We need to protect the elderly. If we're going to be handing out money, that's where it needs to go, folks. The rest of us need to get back to work. This money, they can't just keep paying people not to work. That's the freaking most dumbass thing you can do. Wake up, people. Good night and God bless.